Welcome to Conversation for the Soul. I'm Allison Gregary, and today we are here with Lisa Weller. Lisa is a light worker, a soul guide, an energy healer, and an artist. Welcome, Lisa. So wonderful to have you here today,
Hi,
and that
Alison.
beautiful view behind you as well.
I know, I'm so lucky and blessed to be looking over the sea. So this is where I paint. We're in my studio at the moment.
Mm.
And then in front of me is wide open fields and the sun's just setting and it's beautiful and I've got it full on my face, giving me a beautiful glow.
I love it.
And I'm actually in the far north of Scotland as well, so it's just all very tranquil and beautiful up here.
Oh, it looks like it's amazing. So tell me a little bit about you. How did your awakening journey start for you?
Okay, so yes, I've always been very spiritual, on a spiritual journey, on the spiritual search for something. Always believed in a higher power, but kind of got sidetracked in my 20s, like we do when we're just getting out
Yes.
there, having fun, meeting boys, getting drunk.
Yep. Yep. That's it.
um, so yes, so kind of like just got distracted and did a lot of wrong turns. And then what happened was probably at the back end of my 20s, I was completely on the wrong career path as well, to be honest. I was like, there's me like now painting and doing coaching full time. But in my 20s, I'd become an IT project manager, and
Wow.
it was, yes, like completely different. I was in completely the wrong job. And so I had to kind of just do a lot of searching, like all of that, going out drinking and doing all this stuff that just wasn't right for me.
Yeah.
So at the back end of my 20s, I was so miserable in all of this IT project management jobs that I decided I had to, and I'm now talking about the creative path and how I got onto this, but it kind of ties into the spiritual path as well, what happened. So I ditched the full-time job, went part-time, and once I was part-time, I was able to then create more space for myself, and then the creativity just kind of like grew massively, and so I was able to then pursue the creative path, thankfully, and get out of the corporate path. And then that path, the creative path, actually led me to Scotland in my early 30s. Um, and the long story short, I ended up in a castle.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was, yes, I know. So a massive story. So I ended up staying in a castle, which up here it's a Christian artists retreat. And at that point, I wasn't even Christian. I wasn't going to church, nothing like that. But I would say that, and that was in the year 20, was it 2011 or 2012? I think it was 2011 when I actually landed in Freswick Castle. And I would say that's when I found God, or God found me. And that's when I was able to fully stop and actually start looking and feeling things and not just reacting of like bang bang bang, I'm doing this, I'm doing that because I need to make money and I need to do this and I
Yeah.
need to go and find another boy because that's what I need to do. It was like literally trigger of like, oh, I've just got to keep doing this, and hadn't stopped since probably I was a teenager, of like just keep reacting to things and not even thinking, right? So I got to this beautiful retreat here in the far north of Scotland. And yeah, like it wasn't easy. So you may speak to other people that when God finds you, when you find God, when you find the higher power, all everything cracks open, right?
Yes.
So um so I just felt I felt more peace than I'd ever known in my life. But then I also felt so overwhelmed with all the feelings that were coming up of like, oh my God, what have I just done for all of those years of my life, all that pain that I've just caused myself. And that started coming up. So I stayed at Freswick for 5 months. It should have been a week, but it ended up being 5 months because the person that owns this retreat actually offered me a job, thankfully. And again, that was like where I put down roots and had the stillness I needed at the time. And Murray Watts, who's the guy that runs it, he actually said to me when he saw me coming up the track, the first time he saw me, he said, "You looked so broken." He said, like, I could see like that brokenness in you. And he's like the kindest, most Christian man. And you know, when you look into someone's eyes, it's got God in their heart. And I just started like, the first time I saw him, I literally just started crying because I was like, oh my God, like, I just need that kindness right now. So that was the first proper contact with there's something definitely a higher power going on here. You know, I can actually now start feeling into it and sensing my way into that there is something else out here. And Freswick's a very spiritual place. They say like the veil is thin there. So I just like started relaxing into the landscape and yeah, just completely
I'm
finding
curious
myself,
about
I
that.
think you would say. Yeah.
Were you at a space in your awareness where you could pick up on anything, the energy of the castle, the energy of the land? Was there something special going on there?
I think so. I believe that I was called there. It was like a magnet that had pulled me. And then it's like it's how I feel about this whole area of Scotland, to be honest, is like it's just so empty, but full of energy. And you know, it's empty of people and it's empty of buildings, it's empty of civilization, and yet it's full of purity and spirit. So yes, definitely it was an energetic thing that I sort of responded to at that point. Yeah.
Is there, because Scotland, and maybe it's because I've watched too much Outlander, but it seems like a very mystical place that not a lot of people understand its mysticism. Have you picked up on any of that? I mean, I love your description of the part of the country that you live in. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, like skipping forward to like literally like this last solstice. I mean, we can talk later about everything that's come between that year, which was like 2011 till now, but the last solstice, I gathered ladies, like-minded people, at some standing stones. So they're like 5,000 years old. We don't know. They're thousands of years old, right? And they're a bit like Stonehenge. I don't know if you've heard of Stonehenge. That
Yes.
yeah. So they're like that, but not as big. So they're smaller, but they're in a circle, and They're like 20 miles from my home here. So I decided that we would gather in these stones like our ancestors would have done. And we called on our ancestors and had a lady bring a shamanic drum and play a native flute. And we prayed. We prayed so hard for Scotland, for the world, you know, just bringing love like right down into our hearts and then sending it out to people in the world and to each other, to our communities as well. So yes, there's definite mysticism. I feel it all over, like, you know, because I'm an artist, so I go out a lot of the time with my camera by myself, gathering inspiration. And I don't think my awakening would have happened so dramatically if I hadn't been in Scotland. So it was almost like I was made or pulled to come here to experience what I've experienced. And now it's like I've put down roots. It's pulled me, and I can't see my like living anywhere else. And I wasn't born here, so whether it's an ancestral thing, maybe it's a past life thing. That's I've always been drawn to Scotland. I knew when I was 16, like we came up here when I was 16, and that's it. I was like, that's home. I'm going back, you know. And every holiday after that, I would return, um, until the point of like when I got to the end of my 20s, late 20s, I was like, right, that's it. I'm gonna have to make this happen now. So yeah, there's definite a connection between me and this landscape for sure. And I'm sure lots of people feel that with Scotland as well, especially in America, you know, with the ancestral lineage, with people moving away from Scotland and then being called back to it as well. But yeah, it's definitely there.
So what are some of the other high points of that whole journey that I interrupted you on?
No, it's a long story. So what happened? So I came here 2011 and completely found my landscape. Okay. So that then it kind of everything then you would think would start falling into place of like, great, end of story. Not no, but not so much, right? So I did end up going to church, and I got baptized when I was yeah, in 2012 or 2013. And that was okay. It was okay at the time. It was obviously what I needed at the time. You know, there was a lot of healing that happened in church with the people in church. And then what happened gradually from those years till now, well, till 2020, was that my body got sick. My body got really sick, in that everything started to break down. So I developed endometriosis really badly. And then I had really bad gut problems. I couldn't tolerate hardly, I was at my sickest, I was on like 10 items of food that I could eat without having a gut reaction. I had a thyroid issue that had to go on medication. Hashimoto's had to go on that, and then my skin started losing its color. There was just, and yeah, there was a lot wrong. So, and that all developed after, you know, I'd started going to church. So you'd think like, oh, spiritually, okay, it's kind of working, but then my body was just going, no, there's something, you're not right. You know, you're sick. So with the sickness then came depression of like, because I'd met my husband, we married in 2013, so he's Scottish. I met him up here, which is great, which is amazing, which is a happy part of the story. But then through that process of getting endometriosis, then I got infertility and depression because we couldn't have children. So then there was just a massive breakdown to the point of 2019, early January 2020, I was so depressed, suicidal, thinking, what's the point? You know, I just can't, there's just no point. My body's so sick, I can hardly eat anything. The doctors don't know what's wrong. The doctors can't sort me out. So there's no point, right? So one day in February 2020, that was it. My mind was going two to the dozen. You shouldn't be here. You're always going to struggle. There's no point in you carrying on. And I just luckily, like, you know, because there's lots of people in that situation, they're very isolated and just don't reach out. So luckily I did call one of my good friends who lives down in Glastonbury. And she just said to me, right, and I trust her, like, she's just very deep and very spiritual. And she just said, right, hun, you need to lie down and you need to meditate, and we need to switch your mind off, because it's your mind right now that's going like with all that noise. If we can switch that off, I'll be able to actually, you know, try and connect with you and not you. So I lay down. She says, I'm going to send you a track to play whilst you meditate. I'm going to be right here with you while you're meditating, and I'm going to pray for you while you're meditating. So I was on the floor, I played the track, and then within not even 5 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes of me playing the track lying on the floor, something went whoosh, the energy went whoosh from my root, and it was like coming out of my head. I was like giving birth out of my head.
Wow.
And it was like, yeah, like, and then I started shaking and moving and like crying and like, and I was terrified. To be honest, I was terrified. I was like, what? And I thought I was possessed. So I called her, like stopped the track, called her. I was like, but I couldn't stop moving. So I'm like, what on earth is going on? And she was like delighted. She's like, she's like, hon, you just been reborn. This is your kundalini awakening. This is amazing. I was like, it doesn't feel like it's amazing. It feels like I can't even control what I'm doing right now. Yeah, and she's like, it's all right. She said, I've been right. We're here with you. She said, you've got angels like surrounding you. You've got Jesus on your left. You've got Mother Mary on your right. You are completely protected. You're safe. This is all good. Don't worry. So we chatted for another like probably hour and a half because I was like, this is and I kept like just shaking and moving and stuff like this.
And was your husband around when this was happening?
He was at work, but you can imagine what happened when he came in. Like I was like, oh my god, do you know what's happened? He was like, what? I said, like, this amazing spiritual thing has just happened in my body, and it's just the most profound thing I've ever experienced. And so after, yeah, that was that day, and then after that, for the next couple of months, I would lie down to meditate, and this thing would just start gushing up and move, and yeah, and like doing things in my body. And but it was okay because I knew what it was. If I hadn't known what it was, I would have been like petrified. But so I kind of came to terms of like, okay, something is happening. And that was in, what are we looking at? February 2020. And we're now 2.5 years later. So I'm 2.5 years into a kundalini awakening. And my life now is completely, I thought it had changed before. Now it's just like, this is bonkers now. The levels of like, the levels of awareness that have awoken in my body. I, was it 4 months into the awakening, it unlocked my throat and I started the light language, and I started speaking in tongues. We would call it in church, or I now call it a light language. And then 6 months into the awakening, it unlocked my hands, so I can now channel energy through my hands. All very intuitive. Haven't been taught how to do it. It just literally flies through me. And it is now, it's not finished, it's still going and fixing me, because every time now I lie down it will move me, contort me, open me, but it's getting there, thankfully. But yeah, like I'm so happier, healthier, and all of the illness is fading into the background, and the inflammation's coming down in my body. And yes, that's what happened.
Now, your husband, what did he think of all of this? Because he must have saw you when you were at your lowest, and then all of a sudden you flipped. What was he saying to you at the time?
Yeah, he's been part of the journey as well. It's been hard for him. So at the time was like, okay, fine, let's just see what happens. And then for the first year after the awakening, I was like in bed a lot of the time because it was flushing like things out. And my awakening's been very strong. It's not even a gentle. It's like if I lie down, if I shut my eyes now, I'd go.
Wow.
And it's that powerful, like that. It's affected some of the things, we might have plans for a day, and it's like we don't know if I can go because of what kundalini wants to do in my body is like so powerful. So we've had to the first year was really difficult. Second year was difficult as well. It's getting easier, I think, because I can kind of manage it more. So it's like I have to be so strong in my mind. It's almost like the opposite of what everyone else is trying to do, which is lose their ego. I'm trying to bring the ego back sometimes and go, right, no, come on, I need to go out now and
Yeah.
do things, you know. So I'm trying to sometimes like argue with this power that's just literally, I want to bring you and purify you and make you better. So it's hard because, yeah, the husband's had to contend with that. It's like a third thing in our marriage of having to get used to, but he's done so well, to be honest, because it's like he's been on the journey as well of having to just release and let go and allow this thing to happen and not be resistant to it. So to just let it unfold as it needs to. And now, yeah, we can talk about, we talk about it the whole time. We have to talk about it.
Do your spiritual beliefs line up?
And
Are his similar to yours?
he believes in a higher power, but not not no, he's not as advanced on the path as I am. But in a way, that's been a blessing in this journey because, like I said, because I've gone up like a rocket, and he's like been the weight at my ankles of like, I'm bringing you back to earth because sometimes you need to be grounded and you need to be talking about mundane things. And I've needed that. Whereas if we were both up there, I don't think I'd ever come down.
Yeah.
And it's like I've needed that. And yeah, he's definitely been what I needed. Even though sometimes it's like, oh gosh, no, I'd just love to share this with someone and be there. But we found a way to share it where it's like a reciprocal. Can you say that for me? That
Oh,
word.
reciprocal.
Yeah, it's where we both like helped each other.
Yeah.
Like bringing what he know, I can bring him up, but he can bring me down. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Wow. Now, at what point did your art come into this? Because I saw some of your beautiful paintings in the background of the waves that are just gorgeous. Did that come in when you were at the castle, or where did that?
So when I came out of the IT project management in my uh, late 20s was when I started to then paint in acrylics, and I painted landscapes and seascapes. And then I came to Scotland and carried on, and now I teach people how to paint, and I run workshops, and I run workshops in well-being, creative therapy, and just how to paint. But what happened was that we now live in this beautiful 200-year-old cottage on the cliffs. So that's where I look over the sea. And we've lived here since we were married. So that's like, it'll be 10 years next year that we're married. But what happened was within a few years of being here, that I kind of opened up to energy more, even though I hadn't had the kundalini awakening. I was just, being more receptive to the landscape. And I mean, I live right by the sea, so it was almost like the sea was just influencing me more and more. That big, massive waves started to. This is one of the acrylics. I should have put a wave on there, but a big, massive wave started showing up on the canvas. And so the energy that's surrounding me, because this sea is wild in the winter. This is like we get battered by the wind. So then that energy then started to show up on the canvas, and they still do. And now, ever since the Kundalini awakening, my art is getting, I would say, better, just for the fact that there's just so much energy running through me that then now comes out onto the canvas. So that's now showing up in the waves even more and stronger. And yeah, there's times of like, well, I've now got the energy literally running through my hands. Like, I can tune in. It's like an intuitive thing where I can just feel vibration through my hands and it comes out. So then to put that onto the canvas is just like amazing as well. If I can channel that and put that onto the canvas, then that's what I'm doing.
That's beautiful. the past couple of years, I've had spontaneous hand movements come through. It's usually when I'm on the way to my special place in the forest to go for a hike, and maybe I have a plan to connect with someone's higher self to bring in some information. All of a sudden, it will start happening to me, which in the car going there is probably not a good idea, but it just happens, and I just let it. And sometimes it'll
Yeah.
happen as I'm walking through the forest too, but I have really not tapped into where is it coming from or why is it coming or any of that. Do you have any information you could offer on that, of how, what you've picked up?
So yeah, it's the same with the light language. So it's a higher vibration that you're tuning into, and it's coming through your body. So you're channeling a high vibration. And the way I understand it is like when we live in third dimension normal life, we block it, right? Because we're not conditioned to understand even what it is, or to know. And even if we have it, it's like, what is it? Oh no, I can't do that. It's like having an itch, and it's like, no, we can't scratch that, so we can't do it. But I think what's happening nowadays is like the energy that's coming onto the planet is getting stronger and stronger, and so it's waking up all of these latent things, abilities that perhaps we've always had but blocked. And I think the best thing you can do is be open to it and encourage it, because it's amazing. Like, so I use these hands now. I use to heal others. So I can run my hands over someone's body, and these hands, I have no idea. It's not here that's doing. It's not even here that's doing the work. It's here that's doing the work. So I'm presuming it's coming from higher into my
Yes.
heart and then out my hands, because I have no thought. There's nothing telling me, and it's like they're their own entity, their own being, because it's amazing. It's miraculous, because it can feel blockages in people and people's auras, and it unblocks it. It will block it and clear it. So I would, yeah, for you as well, I would definitely use. And you know what, as well, I do it in nature as well. The hands want to go in nature, but
Yeah.
what I'm presuming is it's the energy coming through, but also because I'm so connected to my landscape, is like I'm working with some energy blockages on the landscape right now,
Yep. Yep.
and do you get that sense
That's
too?
what I'm feeling. That's the one thing that I always felt that I was doing when I'm walking
Yeah,
through, is clearing and
yeah,
healing of some sort. I don't know what,
yeah.
I don't need
That
to know, but
No, no, you've just given me like goosebumps up my neck. So yeah, I think that's what's happening, is because we can do it, we're being used to cleanse the area. And have you done it in your house? So have you tried it in your house?
I've done it very little in my house because it's usually spontaneous, and it's usually when I'm starting, well, in nature, it'll just come on all
Yeah,
by itself. But if I'm going to do some work for somebody out in nature, that's my clear space. I like to go out there, and that's when I'm just a beautiful receiver. And I believe the
yeah.
trees really help me bring in a lot of information as well. That's when it really heightens. And just recently, I started working with Isis, and I was doing some work for a gal, going out to the forest to do some channeling for her, and verbal light language started coming through for the first time. And I'm like,
Oh, it's
just let it go. Just don't think about it. Just let it go. And I just let it rip. And that was an amazing experience.
it's amazing, honestly. And yeah, it's the same thing. It's like a high, this is how I perceive it. It's a higher vibration that is full of codes, light codes, that just comes out of the voice. But it has the effect in that it can affect other people's auras, bodies, energy. So again, if you get it by yourself and you're out in nature, just let it flow, and do what you want it to do, because you are channeling some sort of energy coming through, and it does unblock. It really does
Yeah.
work. You know, this is tried and tested. That it just works. It clears, it unblocks, and then that would then allow the new energy to come in. So it's yeah, and it's, I think, like, it's weird when it first starts happening, isn't it? Like, did you,
It felt
yeah, like,
amazing. It
yeah,
felt, and this is what I wanted to ask you too. Like, I felt like I was getting different dialects.
yeah,
Like I was pulling in a certain dialect that was very guttural and native. And then I was pulling in one that felt very elemental. And then another one that felt like, I don't know what it was, but it was like different ones. And I'm like, okay, this, and it's like my brain, I just go back here and I just observe everything and go, that's
yeah.
interesting. Oh, now you're doing this. Oh, that's really cool.
It's so weird. Like, I think, like, yeah, you get used to it. So that's me now speaking it for like 2 years. But when it first happened, I literally remember the day of it, like, coming into my throat, and it burst open something in my throat, and I could not stop laughing and giggling for 2 hours. Like, literally, I was in hysterics. And then I thought, my mind was going, "You're mad, you're nuts." But then the
Oh,
higher
that's
self is
funny.
like, yeah, the higher self is just like, "No, this is brilliant." But then it, like, the language didn't come straight away. So then after that, I started making noises like a dolphin clicking, and like for
Oh,
like a
wow.
month of like, what is this? And then I was out for a walk in nature, and then this, like somebody started speaking through my voice, but it wasn't me. But then
Mm.
it was English. It was like, this is, so someone's using my voice box right now. And like,
Wow.
that was when the husband did flip out, because I came home speaking in this really weird voice, and he was, "What the hell is this?" And like, and then I was like, "I can't stop it. What's going on?" But I got, during that period, which lasted maybe 2 or 3 months of like speaking this weird voice that wasn't mine, I got channeled loads and loads and loads and loads of messages that I've actually recorded. And one of them was like, "What is my purpose? You know, what am I supposed to be doing right now and in the future?" And I got all the downloads verbally through my voice box
Wow.
I've recorded, telling me clear as day what my purpose is, and uh, yeah, and what I should be doing, specifically here in Scotland and in the community up here. And I was like, this is beyond that you can even imagine. It was coming out of my voice box, but it wasn't me speaking. And then I was asking it questions, and um, I was getting answers like about my family and stuff like that. So yeah, just, and then
Wow.
that went that, like, in a way, thankfully, because it was really bizarre. And then that went, and then the language that I now speak as a light language, which is a lot more feminine and gentler than this weird eerie thing that was coming out. um and yeah, now it's like, but you can't even translate it. You, like, if you went word for word of like, what is, it's like you can't even do it. It's more like an energy that comes out in these words. Have you found that too?
Um, well, since I haven't done it so much, I really haven't analyzed it, but it feels like it's assisting in whatever it is that I'm working on. So if I'm going out to
Yeah,
work, do some work for someone, um, it's prepping me for that. It's like bringing me into that energy field that I need to be in to assist that person, if that makes
yes,
sense.
totally. And it's hard to put an English translation into it. It's just
Yeah. I know some
energetic
people
stuff.
that do that, which is very interesting too. They'll do the light language and then say what it is that was just said, and then go back to light language and say what it is that said. And I'm like, wow, how the heck do you even begin to
I
interpret?
know. I have tried my latest Instagram video. Have a look, because but the way I do it is like the energy comes through, but I already had in mind what the message that I wanted to put out. It was all kind of combined in there at the same time. And so it came through, the light language came through, then the English message combined with the light language, combined with the hands and stuff like that. So I think that's how it's going to work for me. I don't think there's a direct English translation for it. It's just like, hey, I'm here, I'm doing this, and it's coming, and it's going to come out in light language, but it's also going to come out in a little bit of English if I want it to. Because if I don't, it can just literally fly and flow, and then it's up to the mind to then go, no, stop. You need to go and have your tea or something.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I just lost my thought. Oh, is it something that you can do on demand, or do you have to be in a certain space to be able to pull it in?
I think I have to be in a certain. I'm wondering, like, can I do it now?
Yeah, give it a shot.
Let me try, because this
Okay.
is it. I don't know. So now I get embarrassed. So the human sort of like goes,
No,
no.
don't. You're talking to a fellow light language person.
um, no, it's really difficult. I tell you for why. Because I'm being human. Like if we'd have come specifically with a what I'd have to do. Let me see if I can do it. Okay. So I'm just gonna block you out for a while. Okay, and I'm just going to pull the energy, right? I'm pulling it right now down. You can join in too, see if it comes out of you as well.
Okay.
So we're going to pull the energy down through our crown. Okay. And into our heart space. Na ata ana manaka ata simanata anaka na amanana anana iamanata amanaka ayamanana ayanana na ana da baraki bari sikana mai na ana na ana na ana na ana na ana na I. And now it will just flow.
My crown is just like,
Is there?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's what I just need to set the intention. And then the hands will just start moving. Na stata amanata manana anana ma ata anata ka amanana anana anana musika manana yana. Na ata da amana ki amana da amana yamana anana ayamana. Na anana anana amana anana amdi kamana ti yamana da amana anana amana. So then once it's flowing, I would then set the intention of like, so when I put videos out on Instagram, it's about like, I want to, help somebody that's watching this video. So I'll channel it through the camera. Or if there's someone in front of me and I'm doing some healing, then it would this now would be all over their body of like where the energy will need. And I just let it go. It's literally to let it go. And then the words would come. So I can full on do this for like over an hour and just not even, it's no thinking. So it's like literally just let it come. And I keep saying that to myself, it's like let it come, let it come. And then that's when the energy will just literally flow. We're gonna have to tell it to stop.
Yeah. It's what an amazing time we're in to see all these things coming through so many people. It's just incredible. I love it. It's so exciting.
It's amazing. And how so I can watch light language videos or people do, and I'm the same. Like if I watch it, I'm like, whoa, I'm going. Because like you just respond. And I think because we had it, I think back in our bodies somewhere in our DNA, we had the ability to read energy in this way and respond to it. And we've been so blocked for thousands of years and now we're unblocking, and we're responding now to what we've always had.
Yes.
And yeah, and like to a new, it's a new, do you know what it is? It's a new way of communicating, right? It's an old way of communicating, but it's a new way for us, and it's so natural, um, that we just respond to it. It's like no one, you can't go to school and learn light language, and you can't go to school and learn. Someone asked me the other day, I'll probably get in trouble for this, but someone asked me the other day, like, so are you qualified for your energy healing? And I'm like, look, I will get insurance, but it's like you cannot learn this thing. Like you, it's just come in me. I didn't go to
Yeah.
school. It was just awoken in me. Um,
Well, that feels like a very third dimensional viewpoint, you know, where it's like, well, you need these things and you need to be trained in all of this, where there's so much wisdom that we hold inside of us. You know, all of us have been here many times. The majority of us have probably come back for eons, you know, just to be here for this time. So do you need to be trained, or do you have thousands of years of experience in it, you know?
I know, I know, and it's hard, isn't it? It's hard. I find it difficult right now. Is like to be this, to have this energy, um, and to live in a 3D world is really difficult, really difficult. And we've just got to surrender to the process of the awakening, as everyone now awake, and they will. We're going to get there, but you know, we seem to be leading the way at the moment, but the others are going to follow. But it's frustrating. But then again, I
Yeah.
have to release the frustration. But it is like of like, oh, for goodness sake, are we still, yeah, having to talk about stuff like that?
Yeah.
And there's days, I don't know about you, but there's days where I'm like, that's not even on my wavelengths. Don't even ask me things like that, you know,
Yeah.
of like, oh, I don't know, like politics and how do you feel about that? And how do you feel about that? I'm like, I don't really, it's not where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not in my field. But, you know, conversely, and I always feel like a lot of us live in these two different places all the time. Conversely, I like to do 3D things. I like to go to a hockey game. I like to go out to dinner. I like to, you know, do the normal things that, I mean, we're here to enjoy everything on the planet.
Yeah.
So I just want to enjoy it. I
Yeah.
don't want to think about all the serious stuff.
No, no, I'm the same. Like I love like my family in Sussex in the south of England, and I love hanging out, and they're not in any way spiritually minded, but to go back and spend time with and be normal
Yes, yes,
and do normal things and hang out with my nephew and my niece, and yeah, that's there's still joy in that. Yeah, definitely.
definitely. And I think, you know, we're meant to revel in that and enjoy it and drink it all
Yeah,
in, you
I think
know.
so. And also, I think it's the vibration thing as well. I think as long as
Yes.
you're joyful and happy to be doing those things, then there's no harm. I think you'll know when it's not right is when, yeah, it tugs at your vibration and it's like, no, I just don't resonate with that. And but yeah, all the things that bring you joy and happiness, yeah, absolutely do them and eat that chocolate and go for that skinny dip.
Absolutely. Now, it really doesn't matter, but I'm just curious. I-
Hmm.
I- Do you ever get an idea of where the light language is coming from? Is it just an energy, or could it be a galactic message, or could it be an angelic message? Do you ever get a sense for that?
I'm growing into that. So my guides so far, who I work with, so these are the ones that I resonate with, are Jesus, but it is the spiritual Jesus. It's not the church religious Jesus.
Right.
It's like a true Jesus. Um, and with that comes Mary Magdalene, who really has been so profound on my journey, especially when I was getting to a lot of heart healing. and womb healing. And you know, when the energy comes and it breaks things apart, like I was saying, it can be very turbulent and traumatic as it breaks things apart. And that was the time that I needed the mother figure that I may not have had when I was growing up. So there was a lot of wounds within me, a lot of energetic blockages that may have caused the endometriosis, for example, or some of the different ailments that I've had. So I called, or Mother Mary came to me. Like, I haven't seen her physically, but that's not how I work. I work with feelings, and
I do
it's with
too.
yeah. So I really feel like, obviously with energy, so I feel it. So I felt her presence so strongly that I now bring her with me into my healing sessions, and I bring Jesus, but definitely an angelic presence as well. But yes, no, I think there are galactics out there as well. Like, I've experienced them in the fact that some of the conversations I had when it unlocked my throat, some of the conversations I had was that they were telling me that there's many of them, many guides. So it's more than Jesus, it's more than Mary, it's more than angels. They call themselves, when they were coming through my throat, they called themselves Skylar. And I was like, who is Skylar? And they said, it's all of us. And I was like, okay, so who is all of us? And they were like, we are many, we come from many places. We are here with you to help the others. And these are the messages I was getting. We are with you to help the others, and you need to go and help the others. But there's many of us with other people as well. So I had the kind of like, and I asked, like, are you from a different planet? And it was like, no, 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 we're not from a planet, but we are from a different frequency, a different vibration. So, but they don't, they're not physical. They don't physically live, but they've got a higher vibration, a higher consciousness that was coming through. So I don't know, within Skylar, which is the collective that seems to be coming through me, there may be, yeah, some different species, who knows?
Wow, that's fascinating. Now,
Yeah.
given that you're kind of like one of very few humans in your area, I imagine stargazing is amazing for you.
Yes, and we see the Northern Lights as well, from here. So it is amazing, but it is amazing. It is amazing. And then we have the really stormy nights when it's like we can't even leave the house. But on a clear night in the yes, yeah, it's amazing to stand here. And I remember, I can't remember whether it was solstice last year or something, winter solstice, but the Northern Lights came out,
Mm.
and something was kicking off. I think it was when the KP index goes up, and it's like the electromagnetic field of the Earth is like on red alert. So we know that aurora is going to come through. So we're standing in the garden, and then yeah, the Northern Lights are like shooting past. And
Wow.
I was literally on cloud nine. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was like speaking to my ancestors in the sky.
Oh,
Of like, this is so surreal. Of like, it was just the most profound. I remember it of like being, this is amazing.
that's definitely on my bucket list. I just really want to do that. I was curious if you ever saw any ships or anything.
No, there's talk. There are people up here that have seen them up here, but I haven't. No, no. But I would be open. I mean, I'm not gonna. Yeah, like I completely. There's so much going on right now on our planet that I do believe we are getting outside assistance
Yeah, I do too.
for the awakening and the ascension. And more people are seeing things in the sky, and like, from the sun, like I'm feeling all the energy now streaming in from the sun. I can see, I don't know if you as well, but I can see plasma and light particles, and um So it's just really exciting time to be here alive and doing what we're doing, and yeah, to be able to feel this energy in our bodies is just brilliant.
Mm. Now, have you ever channeled or brought in any light language or information at all for the collective? And where do you see us going?
Let me have a think. If like so what came through, yeah, like so what came through when I was speaking the language, the English, but with someone else was coming through. So had I did get some dates of like, okay, so you know the grand flash that people talk about, and
Yeah.
it's going to be, which I'm as a human, and I'm still not sure it's going to be a grand flash, or whether it's just going to be the sun is just getting more and more active.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
With, yeah, and I feel like every day right now is a grand flash, because every day the sun is getting more energetic and waking up, and it's waking up others. So I'm not sure. Um, but I think I remember getting the message that we are all on that path. We are all, but the specific message was that there are many of you here, and there are many of us. So many of this higher power, whatever it was, the collective that was coming through, many of us are with others on the planet right now, helping the planet to awaken.
Mm.
So yeah, there's and I was so like, oh, thank God, because I thought I which, like, honestly, being up here in the far north of Scotland, I'm like, it sometimes feels like it, like I'm carrying this light by myself.
Yeah.
But thank God sometimes for the internet, because to connect with people like you, and just to have others alongside of like, no, we're all doing this together. One person can't do this. It's like
Right.
the fact that all of us that can now channel energy or are beginning to awaken is like, we are changing the planet. It is changing. But to know that we've got assistance, it's not just us humans either. It's like we are being assisted. And that was a fact that came through here, was like, there are others, and they are assisting other people on the planet, wherever that voice was coming from. So whether it was a galactic presence or something, but that we are being assisted.
Yeah, I feel that too. I'll look up in the clouds a lot of times, and there'll be certain clouds that will stand out, and I'm like, that's really a ship. I know it's a ship.
Yeah, I get that too. Like the especially the spaceship ones. Yeah, there was
Yeah,
this
there's a
one time.
lot more of those recently. Like we'll get the
Yeah.
big puffy clouds here. I'm in Florida in the US, so it's super hot. It's summer, and we get the big thunderstorm clouds every day. But then in front of them, a lot of times you'll see these long, skinny ship-shaped ones, and I'm like,
Yeah,
you're up there. I know you're up there.
I know. I think so. And do you know what I think that is the energetic imprint of the ship that we can't see with our eyes, but it's the energy of the
Mm,
outline of it. That's what I think too.
yeah, yeah. So what else do you have going on? You're doing, let me look at, you're an energy healer, you're an artist, you're a light worker. What kinds of things are you called to work on right now? Like what are some of your projects?
Oh, very exciting project. So, through lockdown, as well as managing this very wild kundalini, I started teaching online, like how, teaching people how to paint, but also then doing well-being classes and a little bit of coaching and well-being. And that was all good to go. I was always checking with the higher self, right? Is this, and I know from what happened with the voice and the messages, is like, you are clearly, you need to be with people, because I'd been sat here for so long just painting, of like, yeah, creating a lovely piece of work, but it was like, I have this gift now that I need to then be, and it was very clearly, you need to be with people. So the doors have just been opening, wider and wider, and it's happening. So like I'm just running so many classes out here in the community of the far north, but online as well,
Oh,
which has been
wow. So your community
really
is being receptive to what you're doing.
not in terms of the energy healing, because I
Okay.
haven't really pushed that out there. What I'm going under the umbrella of I teach people how to paint, but within that, I know it's an energetic thing that they're receiving from me. They think they're, learning how to paint.
Yep.
They're just getting an influx of my energy as it enters the room.
That's
um,
interesting because I really feel, and I don't know if you follow Phil Good online at all, but he said something the other day that really resonated with me. It's like, yes, that's what's going on. We almost have to tone it down. Like, I think in the
yeah,
spiritual community, we get very out there with our language, and it's to the point where,
yeah,
like, my husband will read some of my stuff on my social media and go, I don't even understand what you're saying. And it's like, we got to like
yeah,
bring it back down and say it in simpler,
yeah.
clearer terms. And maybe
Hmm.
not in such a direct way to where it's like in your face. It's more of a background thing to kind of like ease everybody into it. Are you feeling that as well?
Yeah, like unfortunately, yeah, because we're at the front line, right? But we can't help the others if we're like constantly push, 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 and oh, and all this, and it's doing great, and the others are like, I don't understand what you're saying, and
Yeah.
they'll just think we're nuts. So yeah, I've had to tone it down, hide it sometimes, which is why I've got four different pages on Instagram, because there's the arty Lisa, and then there's a Lisa that teaches, and then there's a Lisa that does waves, and now there's Lisa that's like, and the Soul Sister page is like where I can be this Lisa, which is very spiritual, speaks in weird language and waggles her hands around. And I know that the people on that page are going to understand me. Whereas, the other three pages are like, it would just go, it just
Yeah.
completely go over. And then they'll start judging me, and there's no judgment on them, but they'll start judging me because they're like, yeah, because they don't understand.
Yeah.
So
We don't want to
it's
push
very,
people away. We want to try to,
no,
embrace them. And yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you,
I like that because Allison is my soul name that I've chosen. It's not my legal name. So I have the
oh,
same thing. I have multiple accounts
yeah.
with, my legal name and
Yeah,
then my Allison Gregary stuff. So it's like Allison Gregary is where I get to be, where my soul expresses itself. But it's not what
yeah,
everybody that I know would even understand. So
no, I know, and it's a whole like a fit thing as well. Like there's the Soul Sister stuff that I put on Instagram. There's no, I couldn't put that on Facebook just because then I've got family, friends, and everyone that's been with me since, and they'll, yeah, I think they might start asking questions, and it's just there's no even sadness there. It's just the way it is, and
yeah.
we thank God that we do have somewhere that we can share this, because that's how you found me.
Yep.
So yeah, so like we do have these little tucked away corners where we can share all this new and exciting spiritual gifts that are coming and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just what we've got to do. If we are light workers, we need to use discernment and sensitivity, and yeah, not push it, not just be ourselves
Yeah.
and let it come.
And I think sharing like what I've started doing on my other page, that's, I don't know, my other me,
Yeah,
is just sharing experiences in a very authentic way. That's like, hey, I feel these things too. I went through this trauma or this darkness, and this is how I came out on the other side. And this is what
yeah,
I learned. And I'll share things like that. And it feels to me like an approach that might be more helpful. And I've dropped little hints that I'm out here, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
People will see me pop up in my other name and think my account's hacked. And I'll go, no, that's my
Mhm.
spiritual page. That's my, spiritual business that I'm doing. And it's there if they choose to come to me.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'm the same. So on the art pages, it's all about nature and my say my transformation from my illness to my wellness. So it's all about wellness, well-being, nature and creativity with little snippets and people relate to that, which is lovely. And then I'm always like little bit of like, oh, but if you want to come over here, have a look.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to go about it. It just,
I think so, because
yeah,
otherwise we'd end up ditching so much of
yeah,
the world, of our connection to the world, of all the hard work we've put in so far, and yeah, being full on like I'm just gonna go and be very spiritual, and it's like we're here to help. I feel like I'm here to help people. So if I'm doing that, then I'm isolating myself from a lot of people. So it's still trying to have that connection to them at the same time.
absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So do you have anything coming up that you want to share with everybody that's out there?
Just that if anyone is interested, that I'm always teaching painting classes online, and they can be found on Instagram at Painting for Wellness. What else? That my married wave work is Lisa. This gets very complicated now. It's Lisa
Well, we'll
McDonald.
put it below too for everybody to find, but you can say it too.
Okay, thank you. So it's the wave work is Lisa McDonald art, and that is big waves that are in oils. The Soul Sister page is Soul Sister Tribe 1111, and that's where you'll get all the light language and the hands,
That's the
and
one I found you on.
you'll get some healing come through the camera. But it's also I do distance healing sessions. If anyone feels that that would benefit from them, then I can do that. And then if anyone is ever in Scotland, please do drop me a line, because the studio here is open to visitors. But viewings by appointment. So it's just come in and have a chat. And the very exciting thing that I was going to say was like, we are looking to put a yurt in the garden that I'm
Oh,
going to be using as a healing sanctuary.
oh,
So pretty much to combine all of it, but I want to bring women together, create circles, more of what I was doing at Solstice, which is connecting to the Scottish landscape. So all of that ancestral, and there's so much power in women coming together, but not just women. It's the divine feminine. It's the divine
yeah.
feminine that we bring when we come into our heart space. So anyone that feels that would resonate, then I don't know. There's probably a website, some section of my website somewhere, which we'll put underneath that. Yeah, if anyone's interested or wants to come to Scotland, keep in touch, because that yurt is coming. I'm so excited for my yurt,
Oh, yeah.
and it will be there for next year. So we'll be running retreats and soul sister gatherings. So anyone needs some space in the farm, or even you, Alison, if you want to come and visit.
I do. I want to see that stone
Yeah.
circle too. That's got
Oh,
me
yeah.
very interested.
It's amazing. So all of that is here and it's happening, and yes, so
Oh,
keep
awesome.
in touch and keep in tune, and just watch this space, because it's so exciting. Honestly, when this energy starts coming, it just like it transforms you, and it just opens up doors, and it also puts you firmly in where you should be. It's like, when we're so disconnected and worried and stressed with all this trauma that's got trapped in our aura and in our bodies, that it stops us from being the people that we are meant to be. And we have all these
Yes, it does.
doubts that we sabotage ourselves, and of like, and I was there, right? So the abundance wasn't flowing. It was all blocked, and it was all blocked in my body. And I wasn't reaching my potential, because I was just blocked.
Yeah.
Once all that energy starts and the blockages go, then you can blossom and grow into who you are meant to be, and you are then able to use your gifts to go and help others. And it's amazing things when all this energy starts flowing.
Hmm. It is. It is. It was such a delight to meet you today and
Oh,
chat
you
with you. And we'll say goodbye to everybody, but you can go ahead and stay on and we can
okay?
talk about a couple things afterwards, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye
Bye.
everybody.